Could Vince McMahon make a return to professional wrestling? WWE's contract emergencies and my review of Monday Night Raw. I'm Luke Owen and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
WWE are now in Check's Watch its 9th day of the Paul Triple H Levesque era, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that we are all on board. For starters, the penny belts are gone. Thanks, Trips. But one can't begin a new era without totally making sure that the old era, aka the Vince McMahon era, is no more. And he is. He unequivocally is. ... in WWE at the very least. And Vince seems to be doing his best to remove all investment he has in the company, listing his remaining 4.7% of TKO stocks for sale according to a new SEC filing. If he sells them, that would be the last remaining thread of connection between Vince, TKO, and WWE. And should he sell them, that would leave him with a reported $2.2 billion. He could buy 444,444,444 Pokemon cards going by my rather rudimentary math, or maybe he could start up his own wrestling company. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer is reporting that if Vince did want to start his own promotion, he'd have to wait until January of next year due to a non-compete he has with TKO. And when that is up, there is a belief from one of the most powerful players behind the scenes that there is a good chance McMahon would start up a new company if he legally could. This unnamed source goes on to add that much of the success of the Triple H era, namely the Bloodline and Cody Rhodes, were actually Vince's ideas. Not only was he in charge of creative when the Bloodline was formed during the pandemic, he also brought Cody Rhodes back to WWE and is credited as the one who made the call for him not to dethrone Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39, which, it could be argued, led to the biggest WrestleMania of all time in WrestleMania 40. And with $2.2 billion in the bank, he would have a purse that could persuade some talents with contracts set to expire. But is it likely to happen? Meltzer notes that he would be a formidable rival, but the vast majority of the prominent people in wrestling that he spoke with felt that a combination of Vince's age, reputation, and lack of openings would hold back any potential startup. Speaking of talent that could be up for grabs soon, WWE have a bit of a situation going on with two of their biggest stars who could be free to walk from WWE in, let me just check my watch here, the next 2 months. 2 months is not a lot of time. As has been reported for some time now, Drew McIntyre's contract with WWE is coming to an end, and he was unhappy with his creative during most of 2022 and 2023. However, he is now positioned in a top feud with CM Punk and is most likely headlining a pay-per-view in his home country of Scotland on June 17th. But that does not mean he has re-signed, with PW Insider reporting that he has just 5 to 6 weeks left on his WWE deal. And he's not alone, as PW Insider also report that Becky Lynch has just 8 weeks left on her deal. They add that WWE are hoping to tie these both up before those dates arrive and will put in a new strategy so that this sort of situation doesn't happen again. PW Insider's report notes that one of the reasons WWE made changes in its talent relations department last week, adding Chris Legentil and Matthew Altman into the division, was because they have forged past relationships with talent in order to create a stronger signing process. Sean Ross Sapp on the Fightful review of Raw noted that if given the opportunity, Tony Khan could make a play to sign both Becky Lynch and Drew McIntyre, and he would offer a lot more money than WWE could. But before we get into the Raw review, I just wanted to extend a huge thank you to everyone who has checked out our latest season of the Monday Night War over on Parts of Unknown, where Dan, Pete, and I are battling week by week on WWE 2K24's My GM mode. It's led to us reaching record Patreon numbers, and if you're not caught up yet, here's what you've been missing. Welcome to the Monday Night War.
Oh, I'm over budget.
I'm proposing a trade with Raw.
Oh!
He's
done it! Happened!
He's done it!
I've gone overtime!
It. Angelo Dawkins' contract is up at the end of the week. I'm not going to renew the contract. Let's hope he doesn't become champion. So let's
Please be champ, please be champ, please be champ.
Yes! He finally pulled it out. He pulled out the big one.
I then had an email from
Shinsuke Nakamura that said, I've got travel issues, so I fired him.
Oh my god! A brand new record! I had the exact same thing with Nikki Cross, right? You have no champion. Just me and Bales.
Normal. Now it's gonna be Braun. Why are you guys talking?
I might have released Bailey.
Isn't Bailey your champion?
Yeah.
There's a link in the description for a playlist for all of Season 4 of the Monday Night War, so go give that a watch today, and once you're all caught up, you can get 1 week's early access and our bonus booking podcast over on the Patreon page, patreon.com/WrestleTalk. And now it's time for my review of Monday Night Raw, aka the, Roman didn't defend his belt for ages, right? Edition of Monday Night Raw. In about 5 minutes. The show opened with that sad news that Rhea Ripley is in fact injured and will be vacating her Women's World Championship. She hugged Judgment Day backstage and then rode off into the injured sunset, presumably not to be seen again until she returns from injury. Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Radio noted that she could be out of action for 3 months. This is one of those moments when reviewing the show where I don't have anything funny to say, not that that's particularly uncommon, or anything witty or any particularly good insight. It's just a situation that sucks. But sometimes you have to take chicken poop and turn it into chicken pudding, as it led to Liv Morgan coming out after Rhea threatened she would kill her if she saw her, with Morgan cackling while being held back by security. She later said that this was karma for Rhea Ripley after she injured her last year, and this is not the end of her revenge tour. This ends when she becomes the new world champion. And most likely one would think she will be the next champion to set up a Rhea return match. They announced later in the show that a new women's world champion will be crowned on next week's Raw, but didn't give any other details of who is fighting for that belt or in what capacity they'll be fighting for it. If only you had a tournament coming up soon or something like that. I think this could be a great thing for Liv Morgan, because I do feel that there's a certain ceiling to her as a babyface, but there is an open sky for her as an unhinged heel, and it will only make Rhea's babyface return all the better. So yeah, this situation sucks, but perhaps there's a silver lining. And speaking of returns, too many lambs, ho, ho. It's not a shameful thing, you lobsterhead, as Sheamus returned to WWE after 8 months off and brought back his old theme with him. I just hope that someone clues in Pat McAfee that his Fight Night gimmick is in the past now. He beat Ivar in a decent little match. Sheamus, that is, not Pat. On yesterday's WrestleTalk podcast review of SmackDown and AEW Collision, I was whinging about the WWE Tag Team Championship designs because I think, quite frankly, they're f***ing hideous. It's not just on that podcast either, it's something I've been whinging about for a while now. We've had this design in both the penny and silver versions for something silly like 15 years. I was in my 20s when these belts were introduced, and I didn't like them then much either. So I was very pleased to see Triple H come down to the ring to announce that we're in a new era that needs new tag belts. The awesome truth will now be known as the WWE World Tag Team Champions, which is something that I did predict would be the case on our Predicting WrestleMania 41 Way Too Far in Advance video. Click the link to watch that after this. Just focus on the tag belt thing that I got right. Don't listen to the bit where I said Tama Tonga wouldn't be involved in the Bloodline story. Just look at the tag bit. So, what are these new belts like then? Well, they look like mini versions of the men's and women's world championship design, so at least they're in keeping with the show's theme. But with no red strap, how will I know what brand they're supposed to be on? They sort of look like $10 kid toy versions of the $500 full-scale replicas, but they are a massive improvement over the old designs. And Awesome Truth will defend those belts against their new #1 contenders in DIY, who beat New Day and Creed Brothers in a fun triple threat tag match that was contested under actual triple threat rules. A Regeneration X feud makes sense here, and I'm hopeful that DIY pick up the belt soon and actually lead this tag division into a new era. We also got a new QR code tease for the return of Bo Dallas during New Day's entrance, and it's interesting that former AEW star Matt Hardy has been sharing this on Twitter, given his history with Bray Wyatt. Drew McIntyre kicked over a TV that showed a recap of CM Punk screwing him last week, presumably causing real glass to shatter on the floor, cry me a river, and the way beat Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree in a couple of minutes when Indy cheated on Candice's behalf. Andrade beat Dominic Mysterio in a good match that featured Dom hitting a Canadian Destroyer on the apron to set up a near fall. Outlaw Mud Show, am I right? JD McDonough jumped Andrade after the match, and Ricochet made the save. Kathy Kelly interviewed Jey Uso about his brother getting jumped by Tama Tonga on SmackDown and felt remorseful that Jimmy didn't follow him like he wanted. And Chelsea Green and Piper Niven beat the Party Girls in a couple of minutes. The entire runtime of women's wrestling on this 3-hour broadcast was just over 5 minutes. Do better, WWE. Cody Rhodes came out for a promo to announce that he's technically a SmackDown guy now and continued his feud with The Rock. He also brought out Jey Uso, who then beat Finn Balor in another decent match. Damian Priest, who will be defending his world title against Jey Uso at Backlash, came out and looked disappointed that the rest of the Judgment Day jumped Jey after the match. And he should be bloody disappointed because despite having a 3-on-1 advantage, Jey escaped. And he walked through the concourse, hilariously pushing this fan out the way who tried to take a selfie with him, and spoke to Sami Zayn, who was excited to wrestle in this building as a singles champion. Sami then did the same route that Jey just did through the concourse to enter the building for his entrance for the main event, this time not pushing a fan over. It was an awesome one-shot deal, another huge improvement for WWE's production, and an entrance that some are saying is one of the best that Raw has ever had. And that main event saw Sami Zayn retain his Intercontinental Championship against Chad Gable in a very hard-hitting match that saw some gnarly German suplexes right onto people's noggins, and it was awesome. This got nearly 20 minutes to get over, and boy howdy did it get over. Sami won when he hit the haluva kick, and then Chad Gable turned heel by attacking Sami in front of his family. I am sure heel Chad Gable, in full TNA Kurt Angle mode, Perk Angle I believe is what the kids call him, will be awesome. And it will be awesome, I'm pretty sure of that. But I am kind of gutted that we didn't get anything from that organic babyface momentum that we had last year from the Chad Gable-Gunther feud. I really truly believe there was so much more mileage that could have been gotten out of that. But as I said, I am sure this heel Chad Gable will be awesome. And it capped off another good edition of Monday Night Raw. The wrestling was pretty standard for the most part, but that main event slapped. This week's show is 3 out of 5. Now go and watch Monday Night War over on Parts of Unknown. We've linked a whole playlist of this new series, and here's episode 1 to get you started.